My name is Ben Stanley. I am the director of the Mars Society's Analog Research Program. This is my third convention I've been to. The last convention I was the acting director of the Analog Research Program, so we made that official, and I'm excited to be here, give you guys an update on where we're at with all of that. Okay, so here's a quick agenda of what I'm going to work through in my talk here. I'm going to give an update on the Journal of Space Analog Research, what we've been doing with that effort. And then I'm going to go through an update on the Analog Research Program with the Mars Society, some goals that we have beyond the journal, which has been our main focus over the past year. And then I'm also excited to talk about just more specifically a big effort that I'm planning on doing over the next several months for an analog research survey. So, and if you guys look at the images here, that's all of those are at the Mars Society's Mars Desert Research Station in the high desert of Utah, just east of Capitol Reef National Park. We've got our unofficial mascot, Jules. She was in a vicious fight with a robot dog from one of our crews that we have come out and do research, and we've actually got her here today as a very VIP service dog. So in the back of the room, but yeah, and then we've got in the bottom left of this top right photo, that's Sergey. I just want to give him a quick shout out. He's the director of the Mars Desert Research Station. I'm the assistant director. He was supposed to be presenting right now at 1:30, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the convention this year. But yeah, we'll do some pretty cool stuff out in the Utah desert. I'm not going to be talking about that too much, but we'll touch on it a little bit. So the first major thing that I wanted to talk about, the Journal of Space Analog Research. This is something that the Mars Society has been working on for a few years. I inherited the project. Dr. Shannon Rupert, the former director of the Mars Desert Research Station, was working on this. She moved on to a different position, and I inherited where things were at when she left it off. And we've made some pretty exciting progress. We have officially launched, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about that. We've got our website that's up and running. I'll make sure I have a QR code that you guys can scan on a subsequent slide, so you can check that out. And then, yeah, we've got some exciting additional partnerships coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I just wanted to draw attention to our logo that we finished developing. There's a couple of neat elements. I'm a huge fan of the NASA worm logo, so that's kind of a little bit of a inspiration for the lettering on JSAR. Of course, JSAR stands for the Journal of Space Analog Research. And just to give you guys a little bit more context about what that means, sometimes I say analog and people are like, analog versus digital, like what are you talking about here? So in the context of space analog research, analog just means analogous to. It's like an analogy, right? We are doing things on Earth that are intended to simulate different aspects of the space environment, right? So this is all about research that we do here to prepare ourselves for going out into space, whether that's in orbit around Earth, on the moon, or Mars, or beyond. So we've got, in the background, kind of a watermark here of a geodesic dome. We've got one of those at MDRS and at a couple of our other sites. We've got obviously this, arcane line simulated launch, and then the red star at the end is representing Mars, where we're ultimately aiming. But the green is Earth up into the blue sky, and we tried to do a little bit of a gray to simulate the moon. We might do moon on the way to Mars, but really, Journal of Space Analog Research, even though it is kind of a subsidiary project of the Mars Society, we are open to all sorts of space analog research, including stuff on the moon and just in orbit. So yeah, and we are creating knowledge for life beyond Earth. That's the quick little tagline of what we're about. So let me get into details. So we officially announced a partnership with the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments. They are a boutique journal, fully open access journal out of Purdue University. The editor-in-chief is Dr. Barrett Caldwell. I had lots of meetings with him to iron out what this might look like. And what we settled on is we will, I joined their team as a guest editor for the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments. We will be publishing one or more special sections, hopefully many, within the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments that are focusing specifically on space analog research, which is already something that they do have research papers for, but we're making a big push to bring our resources as the Mars Society and engage with the broader analog research community to get in more. One thing that I'm really, really excited to announce about this is we are fully open access. That means that when things are published, anybody can access it. It's not behind a paywall. And we're not predatory journals, so we're not charging article publishing charges for authors to submit. It's fully open access. Purdue has been extremely kind and generous to use their resources to cover all of the publishing logistics and fees and all of that stuff. So we're very, very excited to work with them. We currently have 4 papers in our publishing pipeline. We were hoping to have the first one ready in time for the conference. We didn't quite get it across the finish line. But you guys, if you're sticking around for the whole conference, you'll probably hear from Andy Greco. He was one of the participants, I believe, last year and this summer at our Arctic Research Station. So he's publishing, well, we're hoping to publish some work that he did on essentially like assessing safety of the analog research station, because he went there after it had been dormant for quite a while. So really looking forward to that. And like I said, we've got a handful of other papers that are either, just submitted or in different phases of the peer review process, and going back and forth and making edits. So we're excited to publish those soon. I included just a quick quote from the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments website. And there's more to it than this, obviously, but just a quick thing. They are a peer-reviewed journal that accepts empirical and theoretical articles with relevance to human performance in extreme environments. And I am actually also working on a research paper that I'm hoping to publish here or possibly in other journals. I'm working on it with a co-author, Phil Swan. He is also at the conference. And I'm going to be presenting on that research on Saturday, also in this room. So if you guys are interested in learning about that, we're doing a research project on some of the early exploration into the upper limits of human G-force tolerance, human acceleration tolerance. And I'm making the argument for why that might be relevant again, even though we found that it was, just fine to do around 3 to 5 Gs for our current space flight architectures. So yeah, very excited to be working with Purdue. This is the QR code I mentioned earlier. If you guys want to scan that, that'll help you get to the JSAR website. If for whatever reason you want to and that's not working, I also have the URL on my last slide. But yeah, we've got just our about section talking about what we're doing with the Journal of Space Analog Research. And then we've got links to, obviously, the Purdue website with the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments. And we're working on other partnerships, and so we'll probably post those up there as well. We've also got author's notes where we talk about the type of research that we're looking for, what are the qualifications, and, some of the stuff that we consider space analog research that we want to publish may not necessarily be a perfect fit for the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments. So that's why we're looking for additional publishing partners. And we might get to a point down the road where we, do our own in-house publishing as well. But that's the current state of things. And yeah, like I said, first peer-reviewed papers coming soon. We're also planning on doing some, just science journalism and educational outreach and stuff. Probably 1 or 2 different blog sections that we'll have on that website. So yeah, look forward to that when we get those things published. One of the additional partnerships that we're looking to solidify is with the journal Gravitational and Space Research. That's based out of the University of Florida. They are also fully open access, same way that the Purdue Journal works. we're planning on doing an official announcement for that partnership in December. We need to do a little bit more legwork of reaching out to our community of researchers, people within the Mars Society, to make sure we're ready for that, because they are, hoping that this can be a big push that results in at least, 6 to 10 papers, if not more. So we're really looking forward to that. I'm not going to just stand here and read through all of the stuff that they list on their website as topic areas. If you're interested in that, maybe snap a quick photo, and of course you can check out them on the web. They've got a website at their most recent issue, so I'm excited about that as well. Okay, so moving to the Analog Research Program. The Analog Research Program in the Mars Society is what is working on the journal, and that's a big announcement that we have, that we've officially launched out. We're looking for more people to submit articles that we can get published. So if anybody wants to do space analog research, please reach out to us, submit your articles. But in addition to that, the Analog Research Program has a couple of other goals. Obviously, one of those is ongoing support for our research facilities around the globe. So obviously, I already mentioned the Mars Desert Research Station. We also have our Arctic Research Station. It's, I believe we're still calling it the Flashline Arctic Research Station, Mars Arctic Research Station. I know there's been talks of changing the name, but I don't think we've made any big moves on that. And then just launched this year, we have the Hope Station in the Himalayas. And so we're really excited about that as well. That's done in partnership with the Mars Society Australia chapter, as well as ISRO, the Indian Space Agency. I can't remember exactly what ISRO stands for, but their official space agency. And yeah, we just got a couple of photos here. So this is our, Arctic Research Station up on Devon Island in Canada. And then this is the Hope Station in the Himalayas. It's close to a high altitude lake. So interesting new topography and geology research opportunities for that are different, both from our Devon Island site and the high desert of southern Utah. Another thing that we're working on, so there are a couple of different analog sites and organizations that sponsor these things throughout the world. Some are, like us, nonprofit. Some are, run by government space agencies. NASA has a handful of analog stations. They've got Hera, which is a moon simulation, and really about isolation. They just keep them in this simulated space vehicle for a certain amount of time, do different studies. They also, seen in the news, Chapea, they had people go on a, Mars analog that they built in a warehouse. And there's one I'm forgetting that they just recently figured out as well. But the different approach that we have historically taken, NASA has their own program level research objectives. So they look for people to kind of be part of their crew. And then they say, great, you made it in. We have the research we're going to do. We're not necessarily going to tell you about all the specifics. You are a research subject, right? You're participating in the research that we are doing. And our approach is a little bit different, where we maintain and operate these pieces of infrastructure, and we invite independent research teams to come up with their own research objectives, come out and do that at our stations, and we're in more a supporting role. And so it's more really, grassroots kind of effort. And that's been really cool to offer that to the analog research community. But we've seen, I believe, a missed opportunity to have more program level research objectives ourselves. We don't want to completely abandon allowing people to do their own research. I think that's always going to be a part of what we're doing. But we also want to add to that program level research projects that we can have that span entire field seasons that involve multiple crews. We're in conversations right now with a handful of different principal investigators that have some of these ideas. If it's involving human subjects, we need to do the IRB process to make sure that we can do that ethically and get approved and everything. So we're excited to bring that live and, have that be something that our various crews that are coming to conduct their own research. In addition to that, they can opt into these research projects that, are looking to increase their sample size for the research that they're doing. And then, of course, as I mentioned in the beginning of the agenda, the analog research survey. I think that might be the next slide. I might have one more. We'll see before we get to it. Okay, yeah. So the analog research survey is something that I've been kicking around since I inherited the JSAR project and the analog research program with the Mars Society. And the idea behind the analog research survey is the inspiration for that is the decadal surveys from the National Academies of Science. And a couple of people have mentioned these already in the talks this morning. You may have already heard the idea or concept of a decadal survey. I think there are 3 or 4 different ones that get done, but I picked the ones that I'm most familiar with that I think are the most popular. We have the decadal survey on astronomy and astrophysics, and then we also have one on planetary science and astrobiology. And essentially what these are, the National Academies essentially work together with the entire research community and other relevant stakeholders to get feedback on, like, okay, what's the state of the art? Where are we at? What are the gaps in knowledge, and what can we do to further those? What are our capabilities with the infrastructure that we have? So, for astronomy and astrophysics, we've got a limited number of these very expensive, very useful telescopes, both space telescopes, ground-based telescopes, and the decadal survey on astronomy and astrophysics helps the scientific community organize better and find out, like, okay, with the limited time that we have with these assets, what's the best use of our time? What are the questions that we really want to focus on answering over the next 10 years? And then in addition to recommendations on how we best use the assets that we currently have, they also make recommendations on, what are the capabilities that we don't have that we need to develop for the next space telescope or the next big ground-based telescope, that sort of thing. So I want to do something like that is similar, but for space analog research. So before I get into the next slide to talk about that, I want to, contextualize why this is important and why it's a problem, because we have had a lot of people, and I've been to several different conferences. I was at IAC in Paris a couple years ago. I've been to the National Space Society's International Space Development Conference 1 or 2 times. And there's so much enthusiasm for space analog research. You have a lot of people that want to contribute to this. We want to do research that actually moves the needle on helping us get people back to the moon, to Mars, to figure out how to settle Mars, do crazy, big, hairy, audacious goal projects like this, right? And yet, the analog research community is very, as of yet, disorganized. And you have a lot of people doing duplicative research in ways that is non-productive, because, you do want duplicative research. That's part of the scientific method. You want people confirming one another's results, right, to show that that is actually something real. Problem is, we're using different methodologies that don't necessarily talk to each other very much, and people are doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not building into something really meaningful that is moving the needle like we want to. And you end up having a lot of these researchers who are full of enthusiasm, full of expertise, but we end up just kind of shouting into the void, and it never goes anywhere. And people get discouraged because they see that we're not having results, and they, maybe move on to other topic areas where they feel like they can make more of a difference. And so I want the analog research survey to help tackle some of that problem. And that's really the motivation behind the Journal of Space Analog Research as well, to have a journal that's focused specifically on this type of research so that we can build on stuff rather than it just, going nowhere. So I'm going to go to next slide, talking about this analog research survey. So different from the decadal surveys, which happen every 10 years, we don't have the kind of resources that they can devote to that sort of thing, nor does it make sense to have a 10-year time horizon for what we're talking about with space analog research. when we, probably need to be making bigger changes on shorter time scales. So for the first analog research survey, I want to have a time horizon that's maybe in the neighborhood of 1 to 3 years, right? Help us understand where we're at over that time frame. What are the things that are going to be coming online? What are the things that we want to start developing? And what are the biggest gaps in our knowledge that we can start to fill, right? So I want to engage the key stakeholders in the analog research community. Of course, that's the researchers, but it's also the people who own and operate these stations, right? So I want to engage NASA stations. I want to engage government-run stations. Of course, we've got our stations that we're involved with the Mars Society. There are also other private stations that, some of them are very, very rigorous style of research. Some of them are kind of more bordering on like adventure tourism, maybe not as much on the research. And honestly, I think there's space for everything. We want all of it, right? All of that stuff is important. But I try to engage everybody that's in this community to get various different perspectives to help fill out, okay, where are we at? And coordinate together to find out how can we be much more effective than we've been? Because we kind of spin in our wheels with a lot of the different research that we've attempted to do at these various sites over the years. So again, purpose and goals, I kind of talked through some of these already. What is the state of analog research, identify knowledge and capability gaps, and then make recommendations both for research prioritization with the assets we currently have, as well as for further technology and infrastructure development, either making upgrades to existing analog research stations or creating new analog research stations like our Hope Station that just came online this year that can do new and interesting things that we can't do at our other areas. And then lastly, the thing that I am thinking might really help us move the needle is I feel like coming together with a document that's the result of engaging this whole community of stakeholders with, really prominent professional voices, people who know what they're talking about. If we get this document together and say, hey, look, these are all the people that know what they're talking about from NASA, from the private organizations like the Mars Society, as well as, they have a couple of different analog stations in Poland. HiSeas, I think, is not active right now because they don't have licensing, but they've been, active in the past. SAM at Biosphere 2, they're doing incredible work. ISTAT, they've resurrected the test facility where they proved out some of the initial ideas before they built Biosphere 2. And so they've resurrected that as, and I believe right now it's the only pressurized analog station in the entire world, which is just an enormous achievement. They were able to do that for like under $1 million. They had a lot of volunteer work, so really want to shout them out to everyone because they've done a great job. But anyway, just engage people across the community that are involved in this. And if we do that and we come up with this document that says like, hey, we have come to a consensus around this, these are the important next steps. And if we do that, we bring that to other stakeholders that might be interested in funding us, then it shows them we're serious, right? And we're not just playing astronaut in the desert or something like that. It shows them that we know what we're about. We're really trying to make a difference and really level up our game in the, higher fidelity of the research, stronger research results, and really have that move the needle. So, that's the analog research survey. Tentatively, the goal that I've got for that is to have that ready to release in time for the Analog Astronaut Conference, which is something put on by the Analog Astronaut Federation every year in usually the first weekend of May or thereabouts. They actually do that at BioStQ. If you guys haven't been to that conference, it's a great one. It's so much fun. It's a party every night. In addition to all the
different vibes than ours.
It's a lot of fun to just interact with people. And every year you get a VIP tour of SAM at Biosphere 2. Which I can't remember the acronym. It's
Surface Analog for Moon and Mars.
Yeah, Surface Analog for Moon and Mars. We get a VIP tour of that, as well as the larger Biosphere facility. Get to meet and rub shoulders with all sorts of really interesting people in the analog astronaut community. So I'm hoping to have the analog research survey done in time for that to present at the Analog Astronaut Conference. And then, of course, I'd love to do that at other conferences. We'll make an announcement about it on our site. I'm sure we'll be talking about it next year as well. So I believe that's everything. Let me just check here. Yeah, so that's all for me. So thank you guys for coming. Got time for Q&A, hopefully. Do you want to test that?
Yeah, any questions, anyone?
Where's that conference?
That's at Biosphere 2, just outside Tucson, Arizona.
Okay, a couple of questions. One, how are you publicizing this journal? That's am I making a long answer? The second question is, are you familiar with Mark Salgren's work on decision-making in extreme environments?
I have not looked at his work directly. I'm guessing that he may already have some things published in the Journal of Human Performance in Extreme Environments. I wouldn't be surprised, but
Yeah, so the leaders.
okay.
The thing is, I think that's great relevance
Yeah.
for the analog research world
Yes.
in terms of direct research he's done as well as that community.
Yeah.
It goes back to humans
Yes.
rather than just technology.
Right.
And the other thing is there any value to having high school kids do their own analog research projects?
Yeah.
In other words, try to embed this into our culture, not just have it done on a specialty basis.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, James could probably talk to that a little bit. I'll just introduce it briefly. We have the University Road Challenge that we do at the Mars Research Station every year.
Ellen knows all about that. She's a judge.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you're familiar. You're more familiar than I am. I haven't been to that one yet. But in addition to that, we're planning on extending that to high school students, maybe with kits or something like that. We haven't ironed out all the details, but getting high school students engaged earlier. We're also doing all sorts of education and outreach things. So yeah, I don't know.
We have some K through 12 curriculum that our education director Nicole Willett has developed over the years, and one of the things she has is an analog in a box exercise, where you could run an analog in a classroom without that, where you give students roles and you do some activities that way. Yeah, that would be a fantastic thing. To answer your question, yes, that would be a fantastic thing for young people to learn about that.
Yeah, we've also occasionally had high school students at MDRS. We have a grant for Utah educators that come out there every year. Occasionally, they have some high school students with them. And then I wanted to go back to your first question as well about publicizing. So far, it's been a challenge. We have some marketing challenges as the Mars Society, but we've been doing a lot of word of mouth. We've been looking at other conferences and identifying different, conference presentations that people have done on anything that could be, potentially adjacent to analog research. We've put together a huge contact list, and that's going to be our next big effort to the end of the year, is reaching out to all those people and trying to get more engagement for, publishing with the Human Performance Journal, as well as that Gravitational and Space Research Journal that we're announcing that partnership officially in December. So.
Yep. Yeah, Ben mentioned working challenges. It's really because there are so many different segments of people we work with at the Mars Society, and not all of them are interested in this.
Right.
So we have put multiple announcements out on our big email blast list that has like 20,000 people, but that's not necessarily the segment we want to go after for this. We want researchers and folks that are publishing work elsewhere to know about our journal. So
yeah,
it's a work in progress to educate everyone that this is, or awareness that this is out there.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Good job.